Hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Lord says. About this time tomorrow, a seah of flour will sell for a shekel, and the 2 seahs of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. The officer whose arm the king was leaning said to the man of God, Look, even if the Lord should open the floodgates of the heavens, could this happen? You will see it with your own eyes, answered Elijah, but you will not eat any of it. Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. They said to each other, Why stay here until we die? If we say, we'll go into the city, the famine is there, and we will die. And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to the camp of the Arameans and surrender. If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, then we die. At dusk, they got up and went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached the edge of the camp, not a man was there, for the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army, so that they said to one another, Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and the Egyptian kings to attack us. So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives. The men who had leprosy reached the edge of the camp and entered one of the tents. They ate and drank and carried away silver, gold, and clothes, and went off and hid them. They returned and entered another tent and took some things from it and hid them also. May the Lord bless the reading of his word. You all may be seated.
There's no children's church today, so kids, this is your opportunity to listen to your pastor.
Amen.
Our theme for this month, including the following month, is becoming a contagious Christian. Contagious. I know many of you are medical practitioners, and you know the meaning of contagious. And we can be contagious in a nice way, in a positive way. And perhaps some of you are thinking and perhaps confused about what can I expect? How will this affect me and my life? Well, of course, you would like to improve your personal sharing of the gospel to others and learn some new approaches. And then perhaps some of you are neutral. You don't know exactly what's going on or what will happen. You really don't know what to expect. But you're willing to approach this topic or this series with a teachable attitude, teachable spirit, and willing to obey whatever God has commanded. Or perhaps some of you, I know that you are just afraid about hearing the word evangelism or being an evangelist. I'm not like Billy Graham. I'm not an evangelist. And so you are in terror to listen to this message. In fact, others are concerned about the word witnessing or witness. Well, I just want to assure you that I have no desire to increase the burden or to fuel the pressure in you, but I am confident that you can grow and learn how to become more effective in this area of sharing your faith to others. And so before we continue, this is a 6-week series. So every Sunday we're going to talk about this. No, it's not only me who will come in front and talk about this. The other 2 elders will also do this in the next 6 weeks. But also in your small groups that meets during the weekday, during the weeknights, you will be trained how to share your faith to others. And so if you're not part of any small group, I encourage you to be part of one. We have 5 that is going on every weekday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 2 on Friday. And so let's look at the why question. Why? Why are we going to study this? What is the motivation in order for us to develop a contagious faith? What are the reasons why we have to do this? Well, at the back of your bulletin, I've listed 4 reasons. In fact, by just reading them may not be clear to you, but I'm going to explain each one of them during this message. So the first reason is the stockpile factor. Stockpile factor. Such a confusing word. But let me explain this by looking back to our text. But looking back some more to see the context of what's going on. In 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 24, it says, "Now it came about after this that the king of Syria gathered his army and went up and besieged Samaria. There was a great famine in Samaria, and they besieged it until the donkey's head was sold for 80 shekels of silver and 1/4 of a pint of dove's dung for 5 shekels of silver." What is this telling us? Well, in fact, the first time I read this, I thought I was reading the newspaper. Syria attacking Israel, and then the involvement of Egypt and Samaria, which is now West Bank. And this happened more than 2,000 years ago. And so what's happening here is that there is serious shortage of food in the city. There was inflation. Very little food because the city is in siege. Nobody can go out, nobody can go in. In fact, in verse 28 of that same chapter, some people are even resorting to cannibalism. Did you know that? You just read it. They're exchanging their babies, okay, selling their babies, okay, boil my baby and eat it. Wow. That's how terrible and disastrous the situation in Samaria. And then in our passage that was just read a while ago by Brother Fidel, in chapter 7, there were 4 lepers. They are Jews, but they are sick, and they are outcasts of society of Israel. And these lepers figure out, if we go into the city, we're dead. Nobody wants us there. Why? Because we're sick. If we stay here, we'll die because we're hungry. Let's go to the enemy camp. At least, if they capture us, they might put us in jail. And you know, inside the jail, the food is free. We have a chance there. But if they kill us, well, we're dead anyways. So that's what they did. These lepers figured that they were as good as dead. So they went out to the enemy camp, to the Syrians, risking everything in the hope of getting some food. When they went there, to the enemy camp, they found out that it was deserted. And the reason why the enemies left their camp is because God had made noises of chariots, noises of horses, noises of soldiers coming to attack. and confused them. This confused them into thinking that they are being attacked. So they left. They left their camp. And so these lepers stumbled in all the provisions in the middle of the enemy camp. They see all the food, all the provisions, all the animals. Took these provisions with them. It was a joy. It was a rejoicing for them. You see, they're hungry. They're dying of hunger and they're dying of their sickness. It's just like winning the lottery. And then in verse 9, they said to one another, you know, we're not doing right. Here we are, eating all this food, taking this food, this properties, these resources for ourselves, and hoarding it for us. This is not right. Said, this is good news. We are not supposed to just keep it to ourselves. Let's go back and tell our people about this. So they went back and announced it, that the enemy tents, that the Syrian army has left, deserted the camp, and all the people came, and they found food, and all this provision, and the city was saved. What a nice story. What made them go back and tell the people about this news? It was the fact that provision was so large, the miracle was so exciting, and the news was so wonderful that they just said, we're not doing right to keep this to ourselves by keeping silent. Let's go tell the others about the good news. In other words, silence was an unthinkable crime. There was a man one day, he said, God did something in my life and I feel like I'm just about ready to explode. What he was really saying is that we have a big, enormous stockpile of blessings that we cannot just keep it to ourselves. It's spilling. And it's spilling towards others. What is the lesson here? The lesson here is that the proper understanding of our spiritual heritage can stop ourselves from spilling over other people's lives. And this is one of the most effective ways in being a contagious Christian, sharing your faith to others. Just stay mindful. Think about the extent of our inheritance as God's children. The wonder of God's character, how good God is to us, and the magnitude of the miracle of transformation that took place in our lives. Adopted us as children, making us sons and daughters of God the Most High. You know what? If we live our lives always aware of the size of your spiritual stockpile, that's where the word stockpile factor is. The size of your spiritual heritage and blessings, you will always find yourself saying to people outside God's family, I don't know about you, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I don't know about you, but as for me and my house, because of who God is, because of how wonderful He is, and because of how benevolently He treats me, we are going to serve the Lord. You know, every day we see people, and we watch them sometimes go from bar to bar, getting drunk, drowning their sorrows away. You see people from toy to toy, not only children, even adults, from toy to toy, from lovers to lover, from fad to fad, from having fun here to another having fun there, trying and crushing, and then trying again and crushing again. You know, evangelism, someone has said that evangelism is a former beggar leading another beggar, showing another beggar where to find food.